Those that know me know that I support Arsenal, and it's been over a decade that I have been so. And as an Arsenal fan, I have been subject to a lot of ridicule over my club's inability to win silverware, the big ones especially. And I do think the criticism is justified to an extent, but I guess the ridicule gets ahead of what's physically logical at times. What I mean is, every time your football club does not perform well, there's someone out there trying to rage bait you, trying to get an opinion out of you, trying to get that anger out of you, just because it gets them more clicks, impression, views, whatever. That's how they earn their bread. But what happens here is you are in a foul mood just because of it. So, how do you support your football club without being rage baited? And how do you keep your sanity in the worst of situations? For example, when your club is knocked out of a competition where you thought it would be an easy run, but then they fumble it for some reason. Okay, back to what we're talking about. Essentially, you need to see your football club as something that you're passionate about, something you love, and something you're going to support irrespective of what happens. If you're on the same lines on these, I think we can talk. If you're someone who is happy to change clubs, this is not for you. I think you're happy of supporting two, three clubs from two, three different leagues, and I don't think we can see eye to eye. But for those people who like to support just one club and one club dearly, this one's for you. What I've found that is social media, news platforms, and whatever channels that you might be watching on become these echo chambers for your club's, I would say, downfall. I wouldn't say downfall. Downfall is a very hard word. But your club's inability to perform at the level it's expected at. So what happens here is your club or a certain player who plays for your club does not do well, and everyone wants to get onto that because it's easy money, it's easy to get views, impressions, and whatnot, and essentially you become the highlight. I've seen this with Florian Wirtz, and essentially, obviously, I enjoyed some of it, but then it became a bit too radical. Basically, I did not like the extent to where it went. Even for Victor Gyökeres, who plays for my club, is my striker. We got to a point where essentially everyone's pointing out that he has not been scoring enough goals. But any sane Arsenal fan who has been watching every single match knows that he's putting his body on the line out there, trying to attract defenders towards him and doing quite well at that. While it gives space for Martinelli, Saka, and even as even is played on the left wing to go and attack further, which has brought us wins, and more importantly, it has brought us set pieces, corners, which have led to goals. And I like that, I don't mind that. But when it comes to supporting a club, I feel that you should only be concerned with what your club does and what your club's messaging is. What I mean by this is stay unbothered by the thousands of opinions that come across the reels, memes, tweets, quotes, posts, whatnot. I just feel it's a bit excessive and it's in people's self interest. For example, there's AFTV, there are multiple channels who work better when your club is not doing well. So, would you want to go out there and give a platform to folks like those who are just trying to get the better of you for their own profits? They are misusing and misaligning your club's goals and virtues just so they can make some money out of it. And what happens here is once you fall into the rage bait or the habit of watching these folks and their opinions, then you get stuck and then you want to go back and get some more. While this can be entertainment or sort of a way for yourself to have a let out or a way to blow off steam, I just feel it builds more toxicity over time. And then you sit there and scrutinize every pass, every goal conceded, and so on. What I do specifically is I've added my club's games to the calendar. There's a specific link you can add it, and then you can get to see all matches that your club is playing. That is all I bother with. I do not have notifications for these core apps or news apps that are specifically football. And what it does is I get to see my calendar, and that's how I plan my day. I even schedule my events depending on the matches. That's how I am. I try to make sure I can watch every match, even though I am hosting events on Sundays and even Saturdays. So I do my best to make sure I can get the best of both worlds, and this is how it works. Secondly, I have stopped using a lot of social media to get opinion pieces on my club. I see the schedule, I watch the match. Maybe at halftime, I'll check X for a few updates here and there, or something that I might have missed. Maybe something off screen, because I do like it when fans post videos about something that have might gone under the radar. But I try to make sure that it comes from only positive folks. So this is a stage where I simply cannot be bothered by what someone else has to say about my club, and I think you can adopt this too. So, which football club do you support? I would like to know that, and hopefully, we can have some agreements on the fact that we should simply not be rage baited into content that is self serving to those that create it. This is Anthony. I create content around things that I like and things that have been on my mind. So, if you'd want some absurd content around my thought process, then do subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.